So big news in the Marilyn Manson situation. I know people are going to be expecting I've got some kind of a big reaction. I'm actually visiting someone, so here I am kind of almost hiding in the closet, so to speak. Um, so I'm wanting people to come on, give you some time to come on, but I guess I'll go ahead and get started. So if you check my stories, how did you like that Coppola Apocalypse Now reference? I thought when I put that up in my stories, the famous photo of Coppola with a gun to his head, I thought, oh, I should not post this because they're going to think that they're not going to know it's ironic and they're going to think that I'm suicidal. But it's such a great image. It is such an iconic image. I'll talk about the Manson thing in 1 second. Though, that that Coppola reference, you see it in my stories, the one with the gun to his head, actually, that story had a very happy ending. And so when I look at that, I love that photo, and it's such an iconic photo, but when I look at that, I love the way that it embodies both the despair of life and the insanity of life, but also the notion that sometimes when you are idealistic and you stick with something even through craziness and you see it through, it actually has a happy ending. And what I'm saying is that that film that he thought was going to be a disaster midway through Apocalypse Now, it ended up winning the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival and all kinds of other awards, and it's now arguably the greatest film ever made, Apocalypse Now. So, my point being is that I don't love settlements. You all know that I don't like legal settlements. When someone is innocent, like in Manson's case, as I firmly believe that he is, Marilyn Manson is innocent. He is settled with Chloe Black. It was going to go to trial this week in L.A. And just received notice. It was just disclosed that they have settled. And this was very much expected, and I had been hoping for a different result, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I've been hoping for a different result, but I had people telling me, I mean, Andrea Burkhart, for one, I called her Debbie Downer, and I said, I don't want to hear that. But she was telling me, this is probably going to settle, and like even up to the last minute of the trial, like it can settle like 1 minute before the trial, right? And so it was very much expected, but I really was hoping that this one was going to go to trial because I think that he has such a strong case. And I think that one of the reasons it settled is that it probably became very clear to Chloe Black and to Chloe Black's attorneys as the recent weeks transpired how very bad her case was going to be next to Marilyn Manson, with all of the witnesses that he had who were going to be disproving major parts of her lawsuit. And then there was Elizabeth Loftus, the world-renowned expert on repressed memories, and she was going to come in and just basically debunk one of the foundational pillars of Chloe Black's assertions, which is that, oh, I just, repressed this thing that happened to me in my 20s. I just blocked it out. And oh, now it just, it came back. Evan Rachel Wood brought it back. Evan Rachel Wood is a master, apparently, at uncovering or helping people to uncover repressed memories, because there were 4 different women who claimed that they were abused by Manson when they were in their 20s, and then they repressed it for a number of years, and then Evan Rachel Wood brought it back. So, she needs to maybe do that instead of these Westworld shows. So anyway, I thought Chloe Black had a ridiculously weak case. And you look at that lawsuit, she's complaining about the fact that he kept his apartment too cold or his house too cold. I mean, come on. So anyway, yeah, I was hoping it would go to trial because I really believed that Marilyn Manson, even with the craziness of our justice system, I really believed that Marilyn Manson, Brian Warner, would have won this trial if it went to trial, if it were to have gone to trial next week. I really believe he would have won it. And I understand that, sure, the media, they like to spin things, but the media would have had to report. It would have been a major story, just like the settlement is going to be a story. But it would have been a bigger story. The media would have had to report, just like they had to do with Kevin Spacey, that he had been found not liable or guilty or what have you in this civil case. I mean, it would have meant something. And so I understand it's always a risk, and I understand it's expensive, and it's not my life, it's not my money, it's not my risk. But I do think that it would have been really good. But you know what? It is a big risk, and Manson has been through the ringer, and I don't know, I really don't know what's going on in his life. And so it's very, very likely, I'm sure that if I knew the full picture, then these things would make more sense to me. But, I get it. There's a reason why like 99% of cases they settle before trial, and there's a reason why women like Chloe Black, disreputable women like Chloe Black, bring these types of lawsuits in the first place, and that's because they know they're going to get the guys forced into a settlement, an easy settlement. And I doubt that she's getting hardly any money, and it'll be coming out of his insurance. That's, these settlements mostly come out of the insurance companies in these celebrity cases. So, I mean, it makes sense. It's not like it doesn't make sense what's going on, what's transpired, but it just so happens that she had a horrible case and he's innocent, and this would have been, I believe, exposed at trial. So, yeah, I think people probably expect that I would come on here and have some kind of a dramatic statement. Everybody knows that I personally think that Manson should be doing more PR wise and should be more aggressive. But I don't know what he's been through. And I have to tell y'all that people are going to think I'm faking it, getting all emotional here. Let me stop for a second. I have to tell y'all, though, seriously, it really was sobering to see Brian Warner in court last week for that New Hampshire stupid spitting in a concert thing. And for people who don't know about that, it was just this stupid thing, a concert. There was a camera woman in the pit at this concert, this Manson concert, where apparently spitting happens all the time and the crowd's constantly spitting at him and whatever, right? It's kind of a part of the act. And he spit, and the camera woman claimed that it was, that was an unacceptable act on his part, and that he had damaged her camera too. Was that in there at some point? I know she's suing him, but anyway, long story short, he had to go to court a week ago. Manson did, Brian Warner, to do a plea deal there for that insignificant event. And so there was footage from the New Hampshire courtroom, because he had to appear, Warner had to appear in court for this. There was footage from him in court, and, standing there, entering his plea, talking to his lawyer, that sort of thing. And a lot of people were saying, wow, he looks really great. He looks so good. And I mean, objectively speaking, he does look good. Looks like his, his old days or whatever. But that was not the feeling that I got when I looked at him. The feeling that I got was, it just was so sobering to see this man here, this real human being here, standing in this cold, sterile courtroom with all of these people who hate him looking at him, and with some people determined to make him suffer as much as possible. And I think that, especially with the LADA Gascon and some of what I see as his agenda, it's his stated agenda. Gascon has said he wants to go after Hollywood people because he's been such a mess and everything else. He has openly stated now publicly that one of the big points of his agenda as DA is to go after Hollywood elite, go after Hollywood people, and show them they can't abuse women. And maybe in some cases that's justified. I don't want to get into other cases right now with other people, concerning other people. But in Marilyn Manson's case, in Brian Warner's case, it's a hoax. They know it's a hoax. The LA Sheriff's Office, the detectives already closed the case over a year ago and sent it to the LADA, and he's sitting on it. They know it's a hoax. And they still won't close the thing publicly. The LADA won't. And so I guess what I'm saying is that as much as I hate settlements, as much as I think it's unfortunate the message that settlements send, and look, I know that we are all smart enough to know that just because someone settles, that doesn't mean that they're guilty. And there have been, and in fact, most people who are innocent but who are sued in civil court, they do have to end up settling. Just because going forward is so much more of a risk, and also so expensive. It was going to be so much more expensive, I'm sure, for Brian Warner, to actually go through this trial next week than just to have his insurance, if there even was a payment. Who knows? Chloe Black, she could have been so scared off by how much evidence he has against her that he was going to present at court, then maybe she just wanted out of it. So we don't know if there was a financial settlement. But I'm saying, assuming that there was, we know that that doesn't mean anything. But the problem is that, y'all, every single time I mention a settlement to someone in any context, their first reaction is always to say, oh, if he's innocent, why is he settling? Like, even people in my family that I have explained all of this Manson stuff to, and they've watched my videos ad nauseum and all of that, and who totally believe he's innocent, like when the Esme Bianco settlement happened and I mentioned it, and they were like, there's this moment of like, yeah, but why settle if you're not guilty? And so I just think, y'all, we can't bury our heads in the sand. We have to face the fact that this is the standard reaction, and this is how a settlement makes people feel. It just has a shadiness to it, and it opens the door in people's minds more to the idea that someone could be guilty. And look, every time there's any kind of settlement, I mean, there've only been two so far, counting this one, but anytime there's any kind of what I see as concession by Manson, like, I'm constantly questioning myself. I know that my detractors, my haters may not believe this. They think that I'm just blindly wedded to the idea that Manson is innocent and this is a hoax. But I'm telling you, I question myself constantly about it. And I just have to be honest, when something like this happens, when there's a settlement, even understanding everything that I understand, I have to say to myself, okay, no, let's tick through this again. Am I sure that I'm right? And that's healthy, I think, actually. But I'm just saying that if someone like me, who is so supportive of Manson and who can see the matrix on this thing, really has that reaction, I'm just telling you that's the reaction that a lot of other people are going to have. And some of you can be upset with me for pointing it out, or you think that I'm supposed to just be here as a cheerleader for Manson. That's not my function, although I very much support him. And in fact, in some ways, I think that I believe him more than a lot of people, because I see real potential there for him to come out of all this stronger and to do something with all this. But anyway, I don't want to get in that discussion. I've talked about it before. I'm done. My point is just to say that it was very sobering to see him standing there in the cold light of a courtroom, and it gave me a lot of sympathy for his position and what he's been through, and God knows what kind of like PTSD, metaphorically or literally, he's got from all this shit. So I'm going to continue to support him, and I figure that since we're not having the Chloe Black trial next week, maybe I'll have my own trial, my own Chloe Black versus Marilyn Manson trial next week, and just go through all of the ridiculous shit and talk about the witnesses and the evidence that Manson was going to present based on court documents that I've already seen. Maybe we'll do that. All right. Love all of you. I'm not suicidal. Bye-bye.